behaviors, and then review facilitation. Then we'll also look at highlighting learning methods, and then we'll expose the ID client or ID client to facilitators. So all of us are facilitators to IPM, and we sincerely appreciate you being a facilitator. Over the years, some of us have spent 5 years, some of us have spent more than that. Some of us are new. So in case you're new, you will get to learn some things about our modes of facilitation and the likes. So for the want of time, we'll just go straight into what we are to do. We have roughly 2 hours for this discussion, but we'll try as much as we can to see how to reduce it, because I know some of us will still be in office trying to get done with some work or the other. Okay, so facilitation. Most often, people confuse facilitation with lecturing. Some confuse it with teaching. Facilitation is well distinguished from teaching and is well distinguished from lecturing. And is also well distinguished from other modes of transferring knowledge. The key word there is facilitate, which simply means help. Help. By the word facilitate, it simply means that the person you are coming to deal with is not a complete novice on matters of discussion at that point. However, the person needs help for better understanding and application of the concepts of knowledge that will be discussed. So I'll repeat this again. The key word is facilitate, which simply means help or assist or guide. Okay. Now, as we progress, we'll see where facilitation comes to play and then how facilitation is being done. Now, the key word facilitation is the process of guiding a group, a team, or an organization through discussions, decision-making, problem-solving, or learning experiences to achieve a specific goal or outcome. So a facilitator is more like a consultant who understands the problem of the people that is going to be helping in understanding the knowledge and helping them in applying the knowledge so as to achieve results. So every facilitation experience or every facilitation is aimed at achieving a goal. However, your role in facilitation is not necessarily teaching. It's not necessarily lecturing. Your role is principally to guide. And by guiding, it simply means you have to do a whole lot of observation. You have to do a whole lot of data gathering to know where the issues lie, so that in introducing your guidance, you'll be able to help the people to integrate their knowledge, integrate their experiences, integrate everything available to them in solving the problem so as to be able to achieve a goal. Most often when we go for trainings and people don't feel like the training had an impact, is because the facilitator either went there to lecture or he went there to teach. And howbeit, lecturing and teaching is more of information delivery, transfer of information. But facilitation is primarily about problem solving. So while the lecturer or teacher might have finished teaching or lecturing without necessarily solving a problem, a facilitator is seen as someone with a higher capacity or higher knowledge to help those who have the knowledge but don't know how to convert the knowledge to skills or to applications. He or she helps them to convert their knowledge to skills, and where necessary, help them to improve on their existing knowledge. So anytime we are called to facilitate, it's important for us to understand that the people we are coming to facilitate, they are not novice. They are not people who are completely ignorant of the thing you're coming to talk about. There are people that have some level of knowledge, but want to get better in what they know. And importantly, everything you're going to be guiding them through is going to be towards problem solving. Even if it's not problem solving at the immediate or decision making at the immediate, okay, it has to be something that at the end of the day will help them solve problem or help them take decisions that will help them achieve specific goals. A facilitator helps create a structured and productive environment by encouraging participation, managing group dynamics, and keeping discussions focused. Your guiding and assisting is to help, number one, make sure that whatever thing you're doing is structured and it is done in a productive environment. And by saying a productive environment, it would not mean a 5-star hotel. It would simply mean your ability to manage your group or manage your participants. Okay, your ability to help them keep focused on the learning aspect. Because sometimes we'll find that when we get to facilitate, people share experiences that could be divergent from what we are learning. And then sometimes they share those experiences, and then others in class get interested in the divergent view. So one of your key roles is to make sure that the learning experience is focused. Very, very important. Very, very important. Okay, and then you encourage participation. However, all of those participations, managing the group dynamic, must be kept in view, kept focused to what we are reviewing or what we are discussing. Now, what are the key aspects of facilitation? There is neutral guidance. You are not taking sides on anybody. Like I said, some people will come up with divergent views during learning or during your facilitation. Okay, so you are to appreciate everyone's view in the participation. You have to appreciate everyone's contribution, but you're not to take sides. You're not permitted to say this person is more intelligent than all of you in this class. Whether it is to be done humorously or it is to be done intentionally, whether it to be done involuntarily, you must try as much as you can to avoid that. Your guidance must be neutral. You're not to take sides to anybody. Okay, you can say to a class, this class is very intelligent. Okay, but you're not to say to a person, you are the most intelligent person I've seen in this class. When a teacher is doing or is teaching, he's permitted to do so. When a lecturer is doing, he's permitted to do so. But as a consultant, a facilitator, you're not permitted to take sides. Then the process must be structured. You must have the necessary tools. You must have the necessary techniques. You must have the necessary methodologies to ensure smooth communications and collaborations. Your communication, your collaboration must be with the necessary tools, the necessary techniques, and the necessary methodologies. As we progress, we'll also understand different dynamics in groups that will facilitate. That will now help us to know which tools to use per time, which techniques to use per time, which methodologies to use per time, so as to ensure effective communication and collaboration. They will also have engagement and participation, encouraging all participants to contribute and share their perspectives. One of the key ways to actually know if your facilitation is making impact is the rate of engagement and participation. When you are facilitating and your class, there is poor engagement and there is poor participation, there is a possibility that you are teaching instead of facilitating. There is a possibility that you are lecturing instead of facilitating. Because one of the things that engagement and participation does is that it also opens them up for you to be able to understand where there is knowledge gap, where there is need for further assistance. Then you have problem solving, which helps groups analyze, generate ideas, and find solutions. Everything generate ideas and find solutions. Everything we do in facilitation, there must be a provision for practice. There must be a provision for them to practice, either to review a case study and share their thoughts creatively on that case study, or they will be given assignment and then they are to provide their thoughts on that particular assignment, or they'll be divided in groups where they will all participate and then share their thoughts based on what they've observed, what they've researched, and what they've come up with. Or they'll be given a project which they will take for a while, research on it, work on it, and then come up with something. By giving them assignment, you're helping them build skills to solve problems in that regard. And then another thing is decision-making support. You are to guide discussions to reach consensus or make informed decisions. Sometimes our facilitations could be on strategy sessions. Our facilitation could be on retreats. Our facilitation could be on management meetings. Our facilitation could be on board corporate governance. Sometimes it's not about the volume of slides that you have, but your ability to help them take decisions. So you are to guide them in decision making. Okay. Now, we have the different types of facilitation. We have the training facilitation, workshop facilitation, meeting facilitation, and conflict resolution facilitation. I'm going to take all of them as they are all part of what we must do as facilitators. However, in IPM, we are used to training facilitation and workshop facilitation, but people like Dami also will be involved in meeting facilitation as coordinators. Okay, but much more, we're also involved in resolving conflicts. Like I said, during some learning, you find people with divergent views, and sometimes argument can ensue, and arguments are possible sources of conflict. So you must find a way to deal with them so that all parties involved will not feel poor of themselves or feel bad of themselves. Now, for the training facilitation, you are guiding learning sessions to help participants acquire new knowledge or skills. For the workshop facilitation, you're leading interactions to brainstorm ideas, develop strategies, or solve problems. Now, you will notice that in most cases, even while you're doing training facilitation, there's also workshops within your training facilitation. Workshops where you have sections for people to be in groups to brainstorm, or they are given assignments, or like I said earlier. But intentionally, the essence of workshop is to come up with practical ways of solving problems. And I will have the meeting facilitation where you manage discussions to keep meetings productive and goal-oriented. Manage time, manage agenda, and all of that. And then, of course, on the conflict, you help groups navigate this agreement and find common ground. Now, what are the core facilitation skills? I know there have been facilitators in IPM. We're already used to facilitation. However, it's important for us to be reminded of what core facilitation skills mean. Number one, active listening. We must learn to listen actively to participants without cutting them short. Does that mean you have to give them all your whole time for them to keep talking? No. Okay. So if you notice that a particular class could be one that is very engaging, you can begin to time them. But within the time you give them, make sure you listen to them and understand exactly what they are saying. Okay. So in 1 minute, can you tell us your issue, or can you ask your question, or can you make your contribution? And then you can time what they're, but within the 1 minute, make sure you pay attention and understand what exactly is their pain point. Then effective communication. Effective communication. Over and over again, we've seen scenarios where people will tell you they went for training, but they didn't understand anything. That means there was no knowledge transfer. But budget has been expended. As facilitators, we must understand that effective communication is key in what we do. And what is effective communication? Effective communication, first of all, starts with identifying the training needs, creating the objectives, developing instructional materials that will address the objectives, and then delivering the training with such methodologies that will make sure that the objectives are achieved. And by so doing, we'll say communication in terms of facilitation is effective. Then we have questioning and probing. Questioning and probing. If you're going to be having strategy sessions, brainstorming sessions, then you must make provision for questioning and probing. Probing will help you to get deeper into the root cause of the concern or issue so that that can be dealt with. Then we'll talk about emotional intelligence. Yes, all of us, to a measure, we have emotional intelligence, but we also understand that emotional intelligence is not a state. It's what we grow on every day. We grow our emotional intelligence skills daily. Why? Because human behaviors keep changing. Group dynamics keep evolving. So we must keep building our emotional intelligence. Then we have the conflict resolution and mediation. I've talked about that. Then adaptability and flexibility. Adaptability and flexibility. As a facilitator, you must be open to change. You must be open to change. Sometimes you find yourself preparing for a training of 2 hours, and then you get there, they tell you have 15 minutes to deliver. So how do you deal with that? So you must be open to change, being adaptable and flexible. You don't go quarreling. All you need to do is to find out what is the most important thing to say and say it. And then you're off that platform. Then you have time management. Every training, every facilitation has a schedule. It is important that as a facilitator, you keep to your schedule, not just because of the institute, but also for the trainees. It presents you as a professional indeed. They have the group dynamics awareness. Within the first 5 minutes of your lecture or of your facilitation, rather, one of the things you want to do is to understand the nature of people in your audience. So that's where introduction becomes very, very important. And the kind of question you ask by introduction will help you understand the background of the people so that you know how to go about that facilitation. Then you also have process design and structuring. Every facilitator, whether you're the one designing your material or you'll be given a material, you must take time to break down your facilitation into sections that will make it engaging, participating, and impactful. Then you have neutrality and impartiality. As I've mentioned earlier, you must not take sides. You must not be impartial. Or perhaps you must not be partial, rather. Okay, you must be neutral and you must be impartial in your communications. Now, understanding your audience, the first thing to look at there is the demographics. It's important for us to understand that over 90% of the people you'll be dealing with in course of your consulting and facilitation, they are adults. Adults. They are not children. They are not teens. They are adults. That means they have knowledge, they have experience, they have education. Okay. So you have to understand the demographics. So at their age, their gender, their educational level, their professional background, that will help you. Their knowledge and experience level. Are they beginners in that particular subject matter? Are they intermediate or are they experts? Their learning styles and preference. What would be their preferred learning style? Is it visual, like charts, diagrams, tables? Is it auditory, like discussions and lectures? Is it kinesthetic, like hands-on activities? It is always good to note that when you have a mix of people in your audience, these 3 preferences must be explored. You should have auditory, you should have visuals, you should have hands-on. This will help those who doesn't learn much by visual. If they learn much by auditory, they will understand more. Those that learn more by hands-on, they will. So by all means, you have a balanced learning system. Then you have the cultural and social background. It's also important that you also understand the audience of your people in terms of their values, in terms of their beliefs, and their communication styles. For instance, in Nigeria, religiously we have Christians, Muslims, and traditionalists. In your facilitation, is either you are neutral, completely neutral, you're not taking chances to religion, or if you must give preference to religion, then you must give preference to all. You must respect all. You don't respect one and leave the other. You must find a way to respect all. Still on understanding your audience, the expectations and goals, what participants hope to get from this section. It is important that you ask that question, what do you intend to gain from this section? It's important that you ask that question, because that will help you to know, that will help you to further define the scope of your learning administration. Now, if there are things within their expectations that are not part of the scope of your administration, you let them know. And then the ones that are part of, you try as much as you can to get them to have those expectations met. They have engagement levels, highly motivated versus passive or reluctant participant. You have participants that could be highly motivated. You have participants that could be highly motivated. And then you have others that could be passive or reluctant. But by all means, you must drive engagement. You must do what? Drive engagement. Then you also have to understand potential barriers that could hinder effective communication, that could hinder effective knowledge transfer, that could hinder the effectiveness of your facilitation. Some of which could be language, technical complexities, attention span, resistance to change. Now, where language becomes a barrier, and when we say language, we don't just mean the use of English or any other language. You can as well use English, but the level you're communication with or you're communicating with at that with your audience may not be conversant. So we try as much as you can to say your language should be simple and easy to understand. And then the technical complexities, sometimes we use tools, techniques that may be complex. Okay, that may be complex. So you get to help them. So sometimes you have to teach your audience before your class starts so that they understand how to use the tools. I remember when we moved from Zoom to Google Meet, many people said they didn't know how. So we had to start sending them information in advance. We created a PowerPoint to show them how to use it. And I think even when they join, you'll have to tell them how to unmute and mute and all of that. So you may have to take them on some education before they will understand. Then the attention span. What is taking the attention? Okay, the attention span of your audience will determine how often you go on breaks or what duration that will be determined. If the attention span is for 15 minutes and you're going for 2 hours at a stretch, you only had the opportunity of imparting them for 15 minutes. Okay. And then you also have resistance to change. Another thing you must also learn about your audience is the group dynamics and interactions. You have the power dynamic, the dominant voices, the inclusivity and team cohesion. The group dynamics and interaction. You must learn who is who. Some people's voices tend to prevail more than the others. Then you see some cases, some gender tend to have more domineering force. But you must try as much as you can to build a cohesive team, make an inclusive training so that everyone will live well imparted. There are preferred communication channels. Are you going to use formal or informal discussions? Are you going to use digital tools? Are you going to use face-to-face interactions? All this will be determined by the kind of audience that you have. And then your emotional and psychological readiness, your comfort levels, your openness to participation, potential biases or fears. Sometimes facilitators take experiences that are not supposed to be part of the class, but they take it to class. Maybe somebody had a challenge with the wife or with the husband, and they carry that aggression to class, and it presents them as not being professional enough. Now, understanding that we have adults as most of the learners in the case of facilitation. Now, let's quickly look at the characteristics. Number one is that the adult learners are self-directed. They prefer autonomy and ownership of their learning process. They prefer that's why to tell somebody your class is for 8 hours, during your class, somebody will stand up and tell you, I have an important meeting to catch up with. I will meet up tomorrow. And you don't have that right to say you don't go anywhere. That's one of the differences between lecturing or teaching and facilitation. They want to own their learning process. And then you also need to get to know that it's experience-based. They bring prior knowledge and life experiences into discussions. It is these discussions and prior knowledge that will help you guide their learning and help them become more focused with their knowledge, prior knowledge, and experience. Then it is goal-oriented. Facilitation is of facilitating people. The adult learners are mostly motivated by clear, practical outcomes and benefits. If this is not well defined, they will not be there. They have the problem-solving approach, prefer practical, hands-on, and solution-based learning. It is also something you have to do with time consciousness, have responsibilities, and prefer efficient learning or time-effective learning. The adults have responsibilities and they prefer time efficiency, or they prefer efficiency, effective learning. So if you tell them 2 hours, try to hold on to that. And if by any means you're going to exceed that, communicate in the most polite way and let them know why it has to be so. You don't need to tell them, after all, you paid for this. You communicate with them in the most polite way. Then you have need, or perhaps motivated by intrinsic and extrinsic factors like career advancement, skill improvement, and personal growth. And then also need for respect and collaboration. Expect mutual respect and active participation. Expect mutual respect and active participation. Expect mutual respect and active participation. Okay, so now when you're facilitating to learners, adult learners, what could be the common strategies that will help you? Number one is for you to use real life examples and case studies. Adult learners, in most cases, they can read, they can write, but their major challenge is to transform the knowledge to application, to results. All right. So you want to help them with real life. If it has been done before, show them how it was done and how they can now use the same experience to do so to obtain results. Another thing is for you to encourage interactive discussions and peer learning. Let them learn from among themselves. Group them, allow them to learn from themselves. From doing so, everybody will share their experiences. Everybody will share how it has been happening with their offices, and then they get to learn from each other. Then also provide clear objectives and practical applications. As far as you are a facilitator, facilitating adult learning, you must make sure that your learning objectives are clear and they are obtainable with practical applications. Okay, and then you must allow flexibility in learning pace and engagement. You don't force them and say, this training is for 2 weeks. You started in 1 week, you must finish it in 2 weeks. No, sometimes emergencies occur, exigencies occur, and then you cannot persuade them. Okay, you cannot persuade them. You can only try as much as you can to communicate with them where their schedule, does not permit such learning participation at that time, you allow them. So give them that flexibility in learning pace and also in engagement. All right. Then use problem-solving activities and scenario-based learning. Sometimes your problem-solving activities could be real life. However, scenario-based could be hypothetical. Scenario-based could be hypothetical. Okay, scenario-based could be hypothetical. Sometimes ago, I listened to Sam Adeyemi, and then he said prior to COVID, he had started a learning series on scenario-based planning. And then he had this group of leaders, and they had a hypothesis. They created a hypothetical situation. What if there is a pandemic? Now, prior to that time, there was no pandemic. I said, what if there is a pandemic that will not allow anybody to go out? Your organization will be shut down, and you will not be allowed to come out. How will you deal with the case? Now, when they created that scenario, everybody was forced to start thinking. Now, he said, man, the pandemic came in 2019, right? Was it 2019? So when it came in 2019, most of those leaders started calling him, thanking him for creating such a scenario. So you must not just use already existing problems, you must also try to create hypotheses. Okay, you must try to, and then this hypothesis could be based on factors, real-time factors. For instance, you could conduct a best tool analysis, like the political factors. Could there be an increasing dimension to it in the future? Economic factors. Today, $1, I was at the bank yesterday, and the bank said they buy 1,005 and they sell 1,571 naira. I said, that means in the black market, that could be 1,006. But we had a situation of 363 naira, 400 and something naira, and then within a space, within a shortest time, we moved economically. So those scenarios can be created, and then that could better prepare the people proactively rather than reactively. Okay. Then another thing is for you to foster a respectful, inclusive, and participatory environment. Now, let me round off, or let me begin to round off the line between pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy has to do with learning, a learning approach for children, while andragogy is a learning approach for adults. So pedagogy is best suited for children who require structured guidance, while andragogy empowers adults to learn through experience, problem solving, and self-direction. So when we provide avenues for professional trainings and the likes, it's not as though you're teaching the person something completely new. However, you're just trying to help the person manage his experience, manage his knowledge, and then see if he can discover better ways of utilizing his experience, his knowledge towards problem solving. Okay. Now, you will see the difference between andragogy and pedagogy. In the aspect of learner's role under pedagogy, it is dependent on the teacher for guidance. The child is dependent on the teacher for guidance and structure. But for andragogy, the adult is self-directed. He takes ownership of his learning because he understands why he has to take that learning. Under the learning motivation for the child is often extrinsically motivated, like grades, rewards. For adults, it is intrinsically motivated, like career growth, personal development, advancement, and the likes. When an adult is learning, he's not interested in first class or third class. The most important thing for him is, if he passes through this learning, can his problem, can his challenge be solved? If yes, the first class can go to whoever needs it. Then you have under experience, the child has little to no experience and relies on instruction. But under andragogy, the adult brings rich life and work experience to the learning. So you need to sieve and help him manage that learning. Then under learning orientation, the child, it is subject-oriented, subject-centered, with structured curricula, step-by-step learning. But for the andragogy, it is problem-centered, practical application, and reward relevance. The teaching approach for pedagogy is instructor-led, directive, and structured. And that's why you can tell a child, you fail this one, you have to be punished. But you cannot punish an adult. Okay. For the adult, it is facilitator-led. Okay, because sometimes when we go for workshops, we say this is an instructor. When you go for a workshop, you don't have an instructor. What you have is a facilitator. Okay, but sometimes we call them instructors. Okay, but they are not instructors. Instructors means I give you instruction, you work by my command, and that is pedagogy in nature. Facilitator is that I help you realize what you need to do. I guide you through discovering the paths you need to follow. Okay, and then for the andragogy, it is collaborative and experiential in learning. Now, for the readiness to learn, the child learns based on set curriculum or teacher's directive or instructor directive. But for the andragogy, he learns when there is an immediate need or relevance. For the pedagogy, on the learning aspect, on the environment, you have it is formal, structure, dependent on authority. But for the andragogy, it is informal, participatory, and learner driven. Let's go on a short break, and then we'll go on a 5-minute short break. And then when we come back, we'll take some final thoughts, and then we will call it a timeout. See you in 5 minutes. All right, we are welcome back. Sorry, we had a visitor that an adult visitor that we couldn't have chased away, and my attention was needed. Please, my sincere apologies. Okay, so let's quickly round off our discussion. Effective facilitation methods for adults now, or adult learners, using the andragogy. We've talked about experiential learning, use of real-life case studies, simulations, and hands-on activities. Now, we have problem-based learning, presenting challenges that require critical thinking and practical solutions. Discussion and peer learning, I've talked about that. Encourage knowledge sharing and group collaborations. Storytelling and use of case studies, and then self-directed learning. Then also scenario-based learning, facilitated reflection. Yeah, sometimes you might have to encourage learners to analyze their experience and extract lessons from their experience. They'll have role-playing and simulations. If you have the opportunity of facilitating physically in class and a little drama will help, why not? You can encourage role-playing, okay, which create a massive interactive learning environment. Then collaborative learning. Collaborative learning, use group projects, brainstorming sessions, and teamwork exercises. We also need to understand that one of the essence of coming to learning is to have what we call networking. So with group projects, group brainstorming, teamwork, you're already facilitating collaborative learning, or you're facilitating networking. Okay, then we have, you also have technology enhanced learning, just like what we're having now. Is a technology enhanced learning, which will help us to integrate e-learning tools, webinars, and digital resources. I trust that all of our discussions, we are digesting them and learning or reviewing our current learning methodologies, so that we can also evaluating our current status, so that we can be better with what we do in facilitation. And this is not just facilitating for IPM programs. Whether you're facilitating IPM programs or you're facilitating others, this needs to be taken into consideration. All right. Now, use of icebreakers in facilitation. Use of icebreakers in facilitation. If you notice, when I started, I just went straight to my discussion because I wanted to keep a very short schedule, 10 to maximum 12, and we are done. But now we even have a shorter time. However, it is important that you introduce icebreakers, just as the name is, icebreakers. You cannot assume that you have a very motivated learning environment or learning audience. You must introduce, or you have to introduce an icebreaker that will allow them to begin the interaction from the, as you're starting your discussion, they're also joining you in your discussion, beginning your interactions. All right, beginning your interactions with you. All right. Okay. So your icebreakers help to set the tone and build rapport and create a comfortable learning environment, especially for adult learners. Okay. If you want to become friendly from the start of the program, then use icebreakers. Your icebreaker could be a case study. Your icebreaker could be a story. Your icebreaker could be a picture. Your icebreaker could be a short video. No matter, you just find out what works for you and what works for the audience that you want to use, and then use that to do your ice breaking. Now, effective icebreakers, 2 truths and a lie. It helps participants to share fun about themselves. So you can ask facilitators, tell me 2 truths about yourself and a lie about yourself. Everybody will have to say something. Networking bingo encourages participants to interact and find commonalities. encourages participants to network and find commonalities. Encourages participants to network and find common. Then we have word association. Encourages learners by linking key concepts to their experiences. Then personal and professional wins. Allow participants to share their achievements. Now, effective icebreakers for adult learning. One word check-in. Each participant describe their mood or expectation in one word. Sometimes we hear us say things like, in one sentence, tell us what you've learned. In one sentence, tell us what you have learned. In one sentence, not long, not too short, not too long. So with that, you are encouraging them. They have the speed networking, facilitates quick introductions and relationship building. Speed networking. In 5 minutes, name, get the person's address, know everything you need to know about that person in 5 minutes. Okay. And sometimes they get to go back and then try to build more relationship with the person. Then fun fact sharing, help personalize the learning experience. Now, limits to icebreakers. Your icebreakers should be relevant to the session's goals, must respect participants' time constraints, and professional setting, should not force personal disclosure that may make participants uncomfortable, must be inclusive and culturally sensitive to avoid alienations. Sometimes, was it last month? Last month, this month, when we're having our project management training, we asked somebody to introduce herself, and we said your name, your current job role, and where you're working. And she only said her name and said she won't be able to disclose other things based on where she was. And you're not going to force them to do so. Their security should also be a priority. Now, we also have storytelling. The limit to storytelling in facilitation. Storytelling is a powerful tool for learning. However, it must be done strategically to avoid disengagement. It must be done strategically to avoid disengagement. It must be done strategically to avoid disengagement. Now, when you're using storytelling, make it relevant, keep it concise, use relatable examples, encourage participation, ensure a clear takeaway. Now, avoid over personalization. Avoid over, no matter, even if you have 100 years experience, avoid over personalization. Prevent loss of focus. Allow the people to still remain steadfast in what you're telling them, in what you are teaching them. Allow them to still keep focus. Do not overuse. Okay, your storytelling should be once in an occasion in your learning experience. Okay, so that you don't over dilute the points. Now, as we summarize all of what we've learned, let's now use it to understand IIPM clients, and then how you can use that to make a transfer of learning, a transfer of knowledge. Basically, we have individuals and corporates as our clients. Individuals and corporates as our clients. Individuals and corporates as our clients. Now, what is the characteristics of our individual clients? So we have aspiring and established professionals. Their age is between 25 to 55. Their gender is both male and female. Their educational qualification is from bachelor's degree or higher national diplomas and then above. Those are the people we pay more attention to. Okay. Now, their profession from mid-level to senior to managers to entrepreneurs to civil servants to corporate. Okay. Their career stage. This is where they are tilting towards going. But their career stage, you have entry career professional seeking certification, mid-career professionals looking for advancement, senior executives preparing for leadership roles or retirement transitions. These are people we pay attention to. And then we have their industry sectors. They could be from public, they could be from private, they could be from NGOs, they could be from consulting, they could be from finance, project, human resources, banking, anywhere at all, provided they meet the criteria of who we are looking for. Now, what are their pain points? Lack of industry recognized certifications and professional credibility. Lack of industry recognized professional certifications and credibility. They will also have career stagnation and limited growth potential or opportunities, need for better managerial and leadership skills, preparing for career transition, including retirement, struggles with productivity, performance management, and operational efficiency. Some people don't want to lose their job, so they rather will prefer to be trained. Now, what are their goals and aspirations? Earn professional certification for career growth. In fact, the person that interrupted our meeting, I think he's either an assistant director or a deputy director. Now, he said he just wants this certificate to be in his profile or to be in his CV, because he doesn't know anything can be called upon tomorrow. And then, irrespective of his skills, they will want him to show this. So what he wants to do is to end up professional certification for career growth. Opportunities may arise. Now, what else? Increase job opportunities and salary prospects, improve leadership strategy and project management skills, gain global recognition and networking opportunities, prepare for business ownership or consulting. And when you look at the things we do, these are the areas we always try to address. Now, how the secondary avatar. Which in this case has to do with the corporate organizations and government agencies. The target here are the decision makers, like the HR managers, training and development executives, CEOs, business owners, government officials. The industry served, all industries are served, all. We are open to all industries. Banking, telecommunication, oil and gas, construction, education, healthcare, agri, public service, private service, NGOs, all are served. What are their pain points? Need for employee upskilling and professional development, low employee productivity and performance gap, struggles with implementing global best practices, need for internationally recognized training programs. What are their goals and aspirations? Train and certify employees for enhanced performance, improve organizational productivity and efficiency, gain industry recognition through affiliations with international institutes, and then develop leaders within the organization. What are the value propositions that we offer? Globally recognized certification, career advancement and professional growth, practical and industry relevant training, flexible learning options, networking and collaboration opportunities, customized corporate and executive training, affordable and value-driven education, expert-led facilitation, pathway to chartered status, and then strategic business and leadership development. And this is all we have for today. Now, in our discussion, we're looking at the objective. We have reviewed what facilitation is all about. We've acquainted ourselves with the expected roles and behaviors of facilitators. We've looked at the different learning or facilitation methods, and we've exposed the ideal client that IIPM is focusing on. With this, we believe you will be able to do better moving forward. We are in the first quarter of the year, and the first quarter is ending by April. So we expect to have more training engagement in the second and the last quarter of the year, at which point everything we'll be learning, we want you to be part, or we want you to, you're going to be part of the learning exercises, and we also want you to maximize all of these learnings and put them to practice. Now, as we shut down for today, I would like to know if there are, I know all of us are facilitators, so if there are things that need to be added or things that need to be reviewed, we can go ahead and discuss them now in a moment before we shut down. One more time, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being part of this learning. We are going to have another train the trainer session by next week, and one of us here will be the one taking this section for those who didn't make it today. So we will train them afresh. We'll keep training until we have more people who will be facilitating both the member-based education program and then those that will be facilitating our professional programs. Thank you so much, and God bless you indeed. Please, contributions, questions, and let's have them as we take it back.
Wow. Great job, sir. Well done, doctor. This is fantastic. All right.
Great listening too.
I enjoyed the session, although it was a bit brief, but you know, it's so comprehensive. All right. When you think you know a lot, but you discover there's more to learn and there's more to know. I love the part where you categorize those that need, you know, specific knowledge, and they are looking forward to, you know, getting better in their career path and the likes, where you said 25 to 55 and the likes, because once you understand those kind of people, you will know how to manage them when it comes to facilitation. And also, I want to ask, how can somebody manage facilitation online compared to the one that is physical? Because no matter how it is, we said location is not barrier, all right? But notwithstanding, imagine you have a group of people that want to learn from you, and you are there to facilitate. You can compare it with online. I remember the last program we did, it was so engaging. But you know, at some point, people can be so distracted. So how do you manage more of the online facilitation compared to the physical, before I go ahead with other comments?
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Mike is here. So Dr. Mike can also share with us because he's always involved in both online and physical. So Dr. Mike, kindly share your own brief, your own
Dr. Mike, please.
Okay. Online is a very dynamic setting. I could remember when I had something to do with the 9 university students. And you see, that audience is a very wonderful audience. They were teaching them entrepreneurship. I know teaching children of big men, entrepreneurship may not really, it might not really be something that is their thing. After all, daddy might give me 5 million or 10 million, even if I squander this one. So there was this, I could notice just finish talking so that we will go. That was just the atmosphere. So, but what I had to do was, because I know that many of them were my generation, my Gen Z generation. So I had to spark up a conversation that they like. So we left that conversation and start talking about IT, start talking about social issues. That is where they all came alive. So I had to take them to their comfort zone outside the entrepreneurship, because the syllabus they gave me was different. So I thought it was maybe I also want to deal with maybe the lecturers. But when I now saw the audience, I said, okay, no one. So the first 30 minutes I could get that these people are not getting what I'm. So at a point, I even dropped the slide. I stopped using more of the slide. I started having more conversational, because they have so many things to talk about. They want to talk about the Dangote, the Adenuga. They want to talk about how they want to, how their business want to be big. And I now use that as a conversation, as a lecture. So sometimes the audience, the audience plays a very big role, yeah. But when you know to be very sensitive, you have to be very sensitive because you can't see them physically when you are dealing with them when you are online. So once you just notice, you find something to ginger up the audience. It might be, like I said, taking them to their comfort zone. It might be a little bit distraction. And this thing of even telling them to engage in the chat room it also works. So bring up something that we keep them engaged also in the chat room, and that's just the little for now.
Wow, I think I get that, which means you have to firstly understand your audience, as Doctor said, because the reason why I asked that question is the fact that sometimes you will tell, I mean, they will invite you to come and facilitate the learning process for some people online, and before you know, if care is not taken, that facilitation will turn to speaking engagement. You just have to find a way, you know, to keep the room lively, if at all, when they are not responding, using this kind of all manner of techniques to make people feel that they understand what you are saying. So that's the reason why I asked that question, because I've been there several times whereby I really want the class to be engaging, but at some point I wasn't getting what I really, you know, what I was looking for. I had to switch and be dynamics about it. So that was the reason why I asked that question. Secondly, I remember that should be around November, December, when I had the privilege to join facilitation process with FAN rather, Federal Aviation Authority of Nigeria, or something like that. These people, they are elderly people. It was just few, maybe 30s that we had in that group, and it was a bit tough because some of these people, it wasn't as if that they really came to learn. They just want to, you know, see what is happening, collect what they, you know, the package they came for, and they like. But at some point, they noticed that this information these guys are, you know, passing across, I think it's worth it to, you know, to learn more and the likes. So we now discovered that one of the strategies we used was the fact that we use some of them to teach themselves. So as Doctor said, that you need to be very careful when you are trying to categorize some learners, or maybe those that you are facilitating or those that you are training, in such a way that when somebody is being vocal or being intelligent in class, you don't say, oh, this person has been, you know, being responsive. You have to put all of them together. So the techniques we use that really worked then was the fact that we asked them questions. So from what this person says, we can find a way to use that, you know, situation to teach other, and we make sure everybody contributed to the learning process. That was the only thing I could, you know, I could say that it's really helped during that session. I think that's what I want to say. I've gotten my answer already. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dami. Thank you so much. Okay, so I don't know if there are other thoughts or discussions around this. Dr. Mike, are there other things you would like to share?
No, for now, no, not at all.
Okay.
One more thing, Doctor, please. This is very important. I feel deepness is not on the surface. Being deep as a trainer, deepness, like, you know, the word of knowledge and being thoughtful, if that's the word I can use. I mean, when you are trying to expand or elaborate your points, finding situation that is relevant to that situation, and, you know, you find a way to synchronize everything together. So what can somebody do to be a thoughtful facilitator, to be a, you know, thoughtful trainer? I mean, I think you've said it several times that your experience matters a lot when it comes to training and the like. So what can somebody do? Because as time goes on, I mean, it's actually becoming better, but there's always more. So I don't know if Dr. Mike.
Okay.
We have something to say.
I have something to say on this. See, one of the things that you need to do, it has to do with I was discussing with who was I discussing with? I think CRO. I was admiring her writing skills, and they are kind of
Same.
there are different kind of writing skills. But the writing skill I admire so much is that you can relate with your day-to-day activity. I have
Hmm.
one strategic thinker in my network whom he can relate Formula One, he can relate Ferrari, he can relate Volkswagen and make his point. He can tell you about
Ah.
a war that happened in the past, but he may not use what is happening today. Okay,
Hmm.
so when it comes to strategic thinking, for me what you're asking is about more strategic thinking, and it comes with first experience. Yeah, then it comes with deep thoughts, like you said, and that comes from part of silence before your class, especially when you want to do silent strategic class or kind of critical thinking class. You need to go silent a little bit. You need to look at your slide and try to relate it with something. So not just telling about your story, what have happened in the past. You need to be able to relate it with um event and link the event, or a thing, or how a thing function. Do you understand? So you need to, it has to do with very deep thinking of silence, asking questions, the question of why, especially why is it like this and not like this, and the question of how. So if you practice this consciously, it's not something that just come. Yeah, there might be people who may have that as a gift, yeah, but it's also important that whether you have it or you don't have it, you still need to breed it,
Train yourself.
sharpen it,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, and make it better. So, but it comes from that deep silence and reflection. That is what
Yeah.
has helped me. Me. That's what has helped me. Then also, before even, I might not be taking a class, but I might be seeing a movie. I might just walking on the street. I see children playing, or I see a bird fly past me. I see something. It immediately give me an idea that this is linked to social thing in HR, or this is linked to social
Hmm.
thing in business management. Immediately, it just comes to my head, and I'll take my notepad and jot it down immediately.
Wow.
So you need to also be environmentally sensitive,
Hmm.
spiritually sensitive, self-sensitive. That is, you need to be very sensitive to things around. Don't think about it's just a normal thing. Begin to ask, why is that thing happening? There was one session I took on strategy, and when I was asking them, when we were talking about strategy, one of the things that is very common is people don't ask question why they are winning in strategy. When they are winning, they say, "Oh, it's a normal thing."
Hmm.
People don't ask question why they are winning. So after that, the CEO of the company he said he has never ever asked himself why if he win, he win. If he lost, then he will not ask why did he lose. But people don't ask question why and even when you are winning and you win with let's say 10%, you win with 90%, that 10% you feel what many of us go back to interrogate it? No. So that question of why, the question of how, the question of interrogating, the question of looking at nothing that is just an ordinary thing comes into play to help us in such deep thinking. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
sir.
much. Thank you so much. I think you have answered all. It's
Hmm.
just for me to now put heading. Let me put topic to or subtopic. As a trainer, just like Dr. Mike said, you learn by everything and you learn by all things and you learn everywhere. So environmental sensitivity is very, very important. Observing what is happening around you and then making sure that you can create a correlative um, link between what you have observed in the environment to what you want to share in your class. So the environment provides you the opportunity to also get some level of experience. Now, another way, Dr. Mike came to the office early this year, and he said this year he has made up his mind. He will be reading one book every month. Is it one book every month or how many? Dr. Mike, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Is it one book every month you say you'll be reading?
Yes, one book every month, at least the minimum, so that I will not be under.
So that you
No
not be under
pressure.
Okay. Now, that is also one of the most expressive ways of gaining not necessarily tacit experience, but explicit experience. You learn from people. When we read, we're only sharing people's brains, sharing people's experiences and the likes. And reading, knowledge through reading is one of the most impactful way of getting experience as a trainer or as a facilitator. Now, another aspect is, and when I say reading, I don't mean limiting it to textbooks. You read the texts that matter, you read newspapers that matter, you read industry journals that matter, everything that relates. Okay. Another thing which Dr. Mike mentioned about environmental sensitivity. Now I'm trying to say this one we need to be conscious. Watching movie is not wrong, but as facilitators with specific areas, we must know the kind of movies that we watch that will help in our trainings. I don't know if you get what I mean. As a HR, you need to find movies in line with this area, so that when you can now talk, you said, in this movie, observe what happened, and look at how this person did this, look at how this person, that movie becomes a case study. And by you mentioning that movie, somebody can go and watch it, and then the person will learn, not just by virtue of being taught in class, but he has also gotten a visual means of garnering wealth. Because during movie, all the actions, all the scenes will help the person to understand more the concept of what you want to talk about. Okay, like sometimes when I want to talk about the evolution of HRM, I will tell them to go and watch The Men Who Built America. Okay, how it moved, riot and all of that. Then when I had all these ones, there were from industrial relations, we started having cooperative, to having personnel, to having HR as a kid. So those kind of information, not just you watching, but you also guiding them to watch. Then Dr. Mike also mentioned, he said, I have in my network a critical thinker. That means your network could also form part of your experience. You must be deliberate on who becomes part of your network. Okay, you must be very deliberate. And then I will add this, not necessarily the final point. If you must learn, if you must have experience, then you must have mentors. You must have mentors. One of the essence of mentorship is that your mentor can easily share his experience with you. Sometimes when you hear me speak, you hear me say, one of my mentors, Dr. Larry, one of my mentors, this, one of my mentors, it's not my own experience. And I also hear us share some things like that. It's not our own, we are not claiming ownership of those experiences. We're only referencing those experiences, and those experiences are verifiable. So your mentorship and people within your professional network can help you with upgrading experience. Sometimes when we say our well of knowledge, some people want to think of it in terms of PhD, masters and PhD. It doesn't often work that way. Somebody can have PhD and still not have any relevant experience to share because the person has not been deliberate on building experiences. And just like Dr. Mike said, when you go and do your MBA at Nile University, and when you go to do your MBA at Uni Abuja, the difference will be clear. Okay, am I saying that Nile University is not? No. When you go to Nile University, you're possibly going to build more of network. Okay, but when you go to Uni Abuja, you're possibly going to pass through the thick and thin of learning before you can now say you pass through school and school pass through you. All right, okay. I think that will be all. Okay, somebody has a question in class.
I think we just You should let it be now. I'm good.
Somebody has a question in class. So what is the question?
I need more lights on who is a facilitator, who is a trainer, and who is an instructor, and their various roles, please.
Okay. Who is a facilitator? Who is a trainer?
And their various roles.
I can very well say. I think I will leave you to answer that one. Okay, so the key words will help us. The key word facilitator, the root word is facilitate. Facilitate means to help, to guide, to show, to assist. Then you have a trainer. Now, sometimes a facilitator will assume the role of a trainer. A facilitator will assume the role of a trainer if what is going to be bringing to you is new to you. It's new, it's something you're not aware of. So you need to build that skill. It's a new knowledge. So he needs to train you. And most often he has to do that through hand holding. So that's why we now talk about hands-on learning. So a trainer will want you to learn through hands-on practicals. Okay? And an instructor, the root word there is instruct. Another word for instruct is like command. An instructor gives you guidelines or gives you commands that you have to obey. It's a must. You don't find your way out. You don't try another thing. Do it this way. You do it that way. Okay? Now, at some point in your facilitation, you can also become, you can take instructor a little bit, but you're not going to be predominant there. Okay, for instance, if there is a particular methodology for achieving a particular result, as an instructor, you tell them follow this way. You provide them with a guide. At that time, it's not active instruction, it's passive instruction, because the choice for them to do or not to do is left for them. Are you getting me? So at some point in your facilitation, you will provide instructions, but those instructions are not active instructions, they are passive. In the sense that the people you are giving those guys is left for them. Even with the fact that you told them to do this way, they can decide to try to see there is another way out. Okay, but and a facilitator assists, guides, provides some sort of support to assist in learning. Now, the trainer is this one you are new to this environment. So let's help you build some skills, learn some new things. An instructor is, I say it, you do it. The obedience is key in instructor-led training. But exploration, trying different things is key in facilitation-led training. Then, in a trainer-led training, this is also key. Exploration is also key. So in trainer combined with facilitation and instruction altogether. All right. Okay. Any other question? Any other comments? All right. I want to sincerely thank everyone for taking our time to join us. And I'm sure we have shared some things and we've learned some things. Like I said, those ones that are not here, if it is next week, whatever time we fix again, then some of us will be available to now help.
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons why our ELD didn't hold, is it this month? Yeah, this month was because the facilitators were few, and it's like we're just repeating facilitators. So we want to have a pool of facilitators that can be alternated. So that means you keep sharing that volunteer, that call for volunteers, and it's only for IIPM members, it's not for non-members. Because there are some people that fill the form, but they are not members, so we didn't bother to invite them. So we only share it on the member platform. Okay, we share it on the member platform so that we keep having more people. All right. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Very good. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.